It's really no secret that one of the biggest pains for HR actually revolves around recruiting and hiring, especially in today's labor market. Today, SHRM Senior Director Amber Clayton and I will be covering how to get more applicants in without creating more work for HR. Let's get right into it. Amber, my question for you is what strategies do you actually recommend for HR to more efficiently broaden their applicant pool without significantly increasing their workload at the end of the day?
Sure. So, as I mentioned, we talked about an applicant tracking system. So, that's always really helpful because you can have individuals apply, they can attach their resumes, it gets filtered into a system, and you actually set it up to be able to ensure that you're getting the right match for the position based on the skills and the knowledge that you set up within the ATS. So, that could be really helpful. And a lot of employers do have an ATS system. So, that's one thing that can help eliminate some of the administrative burden of going through hundreds of resumes and making those selections. So that's probably one of the key things that employers can do. The other thing is just making sure that when you're posting, don't just post in one place. Make sure that you have built relationships and you could send it out to your network, send it out to the organizations that you have these openings, and then that way you're getting people applying from different places. And it shouldn't be that administratively burdensome to do that. Once you build those relationships, it could just be a simple email. It could be something through technology to be able to send out the job postings to different areas. And then also making sure that you're looking at different pools of candidates. So we talked about untapped and undertapped talent pools, but we didn't talk about employer referrals, which is huge. Many employers have employer referral programs where they provide some type of a bonus or incentive for employees to refer other employees to the organization. So if that's not something that an employer currently has, they may want to start implementing it because that's a good way to get more employees to the organization. Another source is looking at your previous employees, your former employees. Many employees during the pandemic had actually left their employers, but then they found that the grass was not always greener on the other side and they wanted to come back. And that's what we call boomerang employees. So if you have employees who were great employees and they left for, let's say they left because they had a family situation or they had, maybe they did get a little bit more. Reach out to those individuals and see how their jobs are going. Sometimes they're not going great and people hesitate to go back to their former employer because they're embarrassed or they don't want to ask. But really, that's an opportunity for you to be able to bring somebody back who's already trained, who knows your business, who knows your culture. So I would say, look at your former employees and keep those relationships, network with them on LinkedIn, make sure that you're keeping in contact with them. I know I've had that, several times, and people that have retired that had worked here, we actually hired them back as working part-time. So you've got retirees who might be out there and they decide, you know what, I really need something to do. I want a couple of hours, reach out to those retirees too. And the other thing is working with your local schools and your colleges and universities, having some type of an apprenticeship program, an internship program. Those are really great ways to be able to get employees on board in the organization and train them the way that you want them to be trained and what you want them to learn. So that's another great strategy for being able to find employees.
Absolutely. And, I think what this slide really represents is the labor market is incredibly, incredibly tight these days, right? There's a lot of competition out there from the employer side. It's kind of an employee's world and we're just living in it, so to speak. So we actually, this first point, utilize an ATS, an applicant tracking system. We just rolled out our very own ATS system, and it's awesome in terms of, it's tied in with our scheduling platform. So that way it collects hours from local applicants, as this slide says, and it collects hours. So it's saying, hey, does this person want to be part-time, full-time, whatever it is? And it feeds that in directly into your scheduling. So it actually could get them scheduled and onboarded in like 3 minutes on average, which is really, really cool. So it's something that it's very, very relied on in today's day and age, and technology should be leaned on a little bit more to help kind of bridge that gap between the tiresome aspect of recruiting that a lot of HR doesn't necessarily love in their day to day, and relying on an ATS to help bridge that a little bit better and make it just life a little bit easier for you. I mean, it takes a lot of the workload out of begrudging aspect of, re-engaging, looking to former staff, reaching out, looking at students, whatever, marketing. And an ATS is just the perfect storm between all of it, and making sure that it's all kind of wrapped up, and making sure that, you got it all out there, and you're recruiting the right people at the right time.
Yes, absolutely. And for those organizations that may not have the ability to be able to recruit internally, they can look at other organizations. They can look at recruitment agencies, staffing agencies. They can look to a professional employer organization, a PEO. There are organizations out there, and there's even people that you could hire as consultants that might be willing to help you with recruiting. They might be independent recruiters. There's so many different options out there that you can utilize to help in your recruitment efforts if you don't have someone or a team dedicated to doing that internally.
Absolutely. And we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but in terms of employee referrals, right? Kind of bringing in friends, family, even whoever it might be, how can leadership encourage and leverage employee referrals effectively to kind of enhance, to build up that application pool?
Most employers provide incentives. So they may say, okay, if you bring somebody in, we'll give you $100 gift card. And then after 6 months of that person being employed, we'll give you another $100 gift card. So a lot of times they'll give some type of a monetary incentive to encourage employee referrals. That seems to be the most common that I've seen. But, it could be not monetary. It might be something like, you get some kind of a coupon or some kind of a discount, anything like that, depending on what the industry is. But I would say most employers give some kind of a monetary incentive to encourage employee referrals.
In terms of kind of going through the entire application process, what do you think HR can do to kind of better the experience, for these possible candidates, to make it a little bit more of like a smoother experience, a little bit more attractive? Are there any technologies you recommend and making it kind of more automated, anything like that?
Well, I mean, the ATS is a good place to start, and making sure that your application process is not 10, 20 pages long. It's
Sure.
so daunting to be able to apply for a job. And it's been a while for me. I've been here for almost 12 years now, and I haven't applied, but I know, and I can remember, sitting on the computer, and it would take me an hour just to do one application for one job. And, it's pretty daunting. And right now, many people use their mobile devices in order to apply for jobs. So you want to make sure that your systems are mobile friendly, that people can just go on and easily apply for the jobs via their mobile devices and be able to submit their resumes in that way. The paper and pen process is really outdated, but I do know that there's many organizations that still do that, where somebody actually comes into the building and they, sit and they write out their applications and everything. Of course, it's better to be automated. It's much faster, but also just, thinking about the process. How long does it take? Is it really necessary for them to fill out all of this information? Trying to make it as brief as possible, but still getting all the information that you need in order to bring them in for an interview, or to do a phone screen and assess whether or not they're a good fit for the job. So I think that's really important.
That was a segment from our webinar on how to stop new hires from ghosting you. If you're curious on more videos such as this, click on this video here. If you want to check out more content similar to HR within shift-based industries, go to our channel. We have a ton of more content there, and be sure to subscribe.